Abu Ubaydah Amir ibn Abdullah ibn al-Jarrah al-Fihri al-Qurashi, 40 BH/584 CE, 18 AH/639 CE, was a companion of the Prophet, a Muslim commander, one of the 10 promised paradise, and among the first to embrace Islam. The Prophet Muhammad called him the trustee of the Ummah, Amin al-Ummah, saying, "Every nation has a trustee, and the trustee of our nation, O Muslims, is Abu Ubaydah ibn al-Jarrah." On the day of Saqafa Banu Sa'ida, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq said to the Muslims, "I am pleased for you to choose one of these two men, Umar ibn al-Khattab and Abu Ubaydah ibn al-Jarrah." Abu Ubaydah embraced Islam in the early stages of the Islamic call, migrated to Abyssinia, and then to Medina. He participated with the Prophet Muhammad in the Battle of Badr and all subsequent battles. He was one of those who stood firm on the battlefield when the Muslims were surprised by the attack of the polytheists on the day of Uhud. During the reign of Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, Abu Ubaydah was one of the 4 commanders appointed by Abu Bakr to conquer the Levant, al-Sham. Abu Bakr then ordered Khalid ibn al-Walid to march from Iraq to the Levant to command the Islamic armies there. When Umar ibn al-Khattab became caliph, he dismissed Khalid ibn al-Walid and appointed Abu Ubaydah. Khalid said, "The trustee of this nation has been appointed over you." Abu Ubaydah succeeded in conquering Damascus and other cities and villages in the Levant. In the year 18 AH, corresponding to 639 CE, Abu Ubaydah died from the plague of Amwas in the Jordan Valley and was buried there. Name and lineage. His full name is Amir ibn Abdullah ibn al-Jarrah ibn Hilal ibn Ahab ibn Daba ibn al-Harith ibn Fir ibn Malik ibn al-Nadr ibn Kanana ibn Kazama ibn Madrika ibn Ilyas ibn Madar ibn Nizar ibn Ma'ad ibn Adnan. His lineage is traced back to Fir, so he is called al-Fihri. It is said that Fir is Quraysh and was the first to take this title. He is known by his kunya, agnomen, and his grandfather's name, so he is called Abu Ubaydah ibn al-Jarrah. He shares a common ancestor with the Prophet Muhammad at Fir ibn Malik, as the Prophet's lineage traces to Kalib ibn Fir and Abu Ubaidah's to al-Harith ibn Fir. His father, Abdullah ibn al-Jarrah, is not well known and is only mentioned in the story with his son, Abu Ubaydah, on the day of Badr. There is some confusion in historical sources about the lineage, with some, like Musab al-Zabari, omitting Abdullah between Amir and al-Jarrah, though most sources confirm his father's name. His mother was Umamah bint Ghanm ibn Jabir, and according to Ibn Hajar, she embraced Islam. Historical sources do not mention anything about Abu Ubaidah's activities during the pre-Islamic period of ignorance, al-Jahiliyyah. His life story begins with his conversion to Islam. Ibn Hisham and others state that he embraced Islam before the Messenger of Allah entered the house of al-Arkam ibn Abi al-Arkam. Conversion to Islam. Abu Ubaydah migrated twice, once to Abyssinia and once to Medina. His exact order among the first converts is not known, but Ibn Hisham mentioned him among a group who embraced Islam after the first 8. He is considered one of the earliest converts, meeting the Prophet Muhammad at the house of al-Arkam before the number of Muslims reached 40. He was a close companion from the beginning, memorized the Quran from its earliest revelations, and endured persecution with patience. Ibn Sa'd reports that he migrated to Abyssinia in the second emigration. Al-Dahabi said, if he migrated to Abyssinia, he did not stay there long. His migration to Medina. Abu Ubaydah migrated from Mecca to Medina and stayed with Kulthum ibn al-Hidmalasi. After the Prophet Muhammad arrived, he established a bond of brotherhood, muwaka, between the Muhajirin, immigrants, and the Ansar, helpers. Muslim narrated that the Prophet made Abu Ubaydah ibn al-Jarrah a brother to Abu Talha, Zayd ibn Sal al-Khazraji. Ibn Sa'd and others have also mentioned bonds with Salim, the Mawla of Abu Hudhayfa, and Sa'd ibn Muadih. During the Prophet's era, the Battle of Badr, it is historically agreed that Abu Ubaydah was present at the Great Battle of Badr, which took place on the 17th of Ramadan, 2 AH, March 13th, 624 CE. He fought bravely alongside other Muhajirin and Ansar. It has been narrated in several historical books that Abu Ubaydah killed his own polytheist father on the day of Badr. This story is often cited as the reason for the revelation of verse 22 of Surah al-Mujadillah. You will not find a people who believe in Allah and the last day loving those who oppose Allah and His Messenger. However, this narration is considered unreliable by some scholars, including al-Waqidi and Ibn Asakir, who cited other sources saying his father had died before Islam. The Battle of Uhud. It is historically confirmed that Abu Ubaydah attended the Battle of Uhud, which took place on the 7th of Shawwal, 3 March 23, 625 CE. He was one of those who remained steadfast when the Muslims were ambushed by the polytheists and was among the defenders of the Prophet Muhammad. It is said that on that day, he pulled out 2 rings from the Prophet's cheek that had been driven in by his helmet, using his own front teeth. In doing so, his front teeth were dislodged, but his face looked beautiful even without them. This story was narrated by Aisha, and it shows his great love and sacrifice for the Prophet. The expedition of Al-Qabat. The Prophet Muhammad sent the expedition of Al-Qabat in Rajab, 8 October 6, 29 CE, with Abu Ubaydah ibn al-Jarrah as its commander. The story, narrated by Jabir ibn Abdullah, tells of the journey of 300 companions whose food supplies ran out. Abu Ubaydah ordered all the provisions to be collected, and for a period, they survived on a single date per person per day. The hunger became so severe that they had to eat tree leaves, al-Qabat, which gave the expedition its name. When they reached the coast, they found a giant whale, like a small mountain, that the sea had cast ashore. They ate from it for half a month, regaining their strength. When they returned to Medina and told the Prophet, he said, "Eat from the provision that Allah has brought forth for you. Feed us if you have any left." This story highlights Abu Ubaydah's military and administrative genius even during the Prophet's time. At Saqafa Banu Sa'ida, Abu Ubaydah played an influential role on the day of Saqafa Banu Sa'ida. When the Ansar gathered to choose a leader, Abu Bakr, Umar, and Abu Ubaydah went to them. Umar spoke first, but Abu Bakr asked him to stop. Abu Bakr then spoke, suggesting to the Ansar, "We are the leaders, and you are the ministers." When some of the Ansar resisted, Abu Bakr proposed, "Pledge allegiance to either Umar or Abu Ubaydah ibn al-Jarrah." This shows that Abu Ubaydah was considered a worthy candidate for the caliphate, held in the same high regard as Umar and Abu Bakr. Aisha was once asked whom the Prophet would have chosen as a successor, and she said, "Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Abu Ubaydah ibn al-Jarrah." This shows his high standing among the companions. During the reign of Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, Abu Ubaydah's story is closely intertwined with the history of the conquest of the Levant. He is often mentioned as the conqueror of its lands. Command of the armies for the conquest of the Levant. After Abu Bakr decided to open the Levant, he appointed 4 commanders: Abu Ubaydah, Muadh ibn Jabal, Shurabil ibn Hazana, and Yazid ibn Abi Sufyan. He sent each with an army, with Abu Ubaydah as the overall commander when they met. Abu Bakr tasked each commander with a specific region: Abu Ubaydah for Homs, Yazid for Damascus, Shurabil for Jordan, and Amr ibn al-As for Palestine. After receiving his final instructions, Abu Ubaydah marched from Medina, conquering some towns on the way and eventually reaching the Levant. He was the first to successfully secure a peace treaty for a city in the region. During the reign of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Abu Ubaydah's appointment as commander of the armies. After the death of Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, Umar ibn al-Khattab appointed Abu Ubaydah as the overall commander of the Muslim armies in the Levant, replacing Khalid ibn al-Walid. When Khalid learned of this, he said, "The trustee of this nation has been appointed over you." Abu Ubaydah, in return, praised Khalid, saying he had heard the Prophet call him a sword from the swords of Allah. This event highlights the mutual respect between the 2 commanders. The Battle of Yarmouk. After the conquest of Damascus, Abu Ubaydah and his armies were in Homs when they received news of a massive Roman army gathering in the south. He consulted with his commanders and decided to withdraw from Homs and gather all the Muslim armies in the Jordan Valley, near the Yarmouk River. In a show of humility and justice, Abu Ubaydah returned the collected jizya, tribute, to the people of Homs, explaining that since the Muslims could no longer protect them, it was not right to keep their money. The people of Homs were so impressed by this act that they said, "May God bring you back to us. Your rule and justice are more beloved to us than the oppression we suffered from the Romans." At Yarmouk, after a meeting of the commanders, Abu Ubaydah passed the overall command to Khalid ibn al-Walid, recognizing his military genius. Khalid organized the army into a new formation known as the Caradis battalions. The battle lasted for 6 days and ended in a decisive victory for the Muslims, completely shattering the Byzantine army and paving the way for the full conquest of the Levant. The plague of Amwas and his death in the year 18 AH. While Abu Ubaydah was in the Levant, the plague of Amwas broke out. Umar ibn al-Khattab traveled to the region and consulted the companions about whether to proceed or turn back. They were divided, but Abdul Rahman ibn Auf had heard a hadith from the Prophet that advised not to enter a land where a plague has struck and not to leave if you are already in it. Umar returned to Medina. Umar later wrote a letter to Abu Ubaydah, asking him to come to him urgently, knowing that this was a way to get him away from the plague. Abu Ubaydah understood the intent and wrote back, saying he would not abandon his army and asked Umar to release him from the order. When Umar read the letter, he wept and said, "It is as if he has died." Umar then advised him to move his army to a higher, less marshy area. Abu Ubaydah followed the advice, and shortly after, he was afflicted with the plague and died. Abu Ubaydah passed away as a martyr in 18 AH, 639 CE, in the Jordan Valley, becoming a symbol of devotion, sacrifice, and leadership.